Bonjour, welcome to my video. My name is Alexsonia and this is my second video. My first video was about the experiences that I had when I was very young that shaped who I am today because of these very mystical experiences. I had an encounter with the divine and that left me with abilities of being able to channel numbers to start off with, but it's been something that I developed through the years of my years. So my first experience was when my grandfather came to see me, and he had recently deceased, so he just came to say bye. And as a very young person, that was completely natural for me, I guess. And my second experience was Jesus, Mary, and my mother appearing in my bedroom in a hologram form 2 nights in a row until I told them to go away, and then that was the end of that. But although I remember the whole story like it happened to me last night, the fact of that is that I had a normal childhood. I didn't go around thinking, oh my God, the divine appeared to me or anything like that. It was, I don't remember really. Like I was just like 9 years old, and like I went on playing with my Barbies and doing what a 9-year-old does, I guess. So, but through my life, I've had like experiences after experience of very mystical things, and only later on in life was I able to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So in my first video, I kind of make it like these guys were forcing me to like do this video, but nobody forces you to do anything. We come here voluntarily, and somewhere along the line before we came in, we agreed to whatever we're going through, because this is a learning planet, and we're here to learn, and we're here to expand, and we're here for knowledge, and we're here to wake up. That's a big thing as well that I learned through through my years, is that basically we're put in here with goals that we want to achieve, and but love, compassion, and forgiving are the 3 biggest lessons that we have to go through, because as everybody has known and like went through all their experiences, this place is not easy. And I definitely didn't have it easy, but I'm at a point where I have to share my stories. I can't just keep it to me, because some of them are just so fantastical that I have to share it with you. And I was told that all my stories would help people, and that's my goal, and that's my only goal, because trust me, putting my story out there, and I'm not on any social media platform like I explained in my first video, so to me this is like I'm a fish out of water. So as well, I'm French, so, and I'm doing this podcast in English, so bear with me. I did all my schooling in English. I really don't have any excuse, but this French accent for some reason is just so ingrained in us. Like I can give an example of Celine Dion, you know what I mean? Like she's just very Quebecois like I am. So anyhow, so my next story, I was bicycling at our cottage with my brother, and we have a little chapel, and right next to the chapel there's like a wooded area, like in the back of this chapel. So we were riding our bikes, we're at this point, I think I'm like 10, 11 years old. I don't really know, actually. Like, we've had the cottage our whole lives, so it was when we were very young. And we were riding our bikes. And behind the chapel, like I said, is like a wooded area, but there's like a long area prior to getting to the chapel. So there's the woods there. And I heard, I don't know what kind of noise I heard. I heard something that got my attention. And I looked. And it was this, I'm gonna say, 20 feet long. It looked like a ghost, basically. It looked like a ghost. I can't say that it, that's what it looked like. And the size of it, and it was kind of like gliding with us. It's flying, but like it's like in the woods, and it's white, and it's just going at the same speed as we are. And I said to my brother, I said, "Did you see that?" And he goes, "Yes." And I'm telling you, this girl, like, I paddled my bike with my brother at 100 miles an hour. It was like an ET situation, like where they're trying to get away from the cops. And if we could have flew, we would have flew, because we were so scared. And we got to the cottage, and usually we park our bikes properly and go in. We just threw our bikes on the lawn, and we just like ran inside the cottage. And then we're just sitting on the couch, and my mother comes in, and she's like, "What's wrong with you guys? Do you see a ghost?" And then my brother and I, we look at each other, and we're like, "Yeah, we did." And then my mother, she's like, "Okay, whatever. Sure you did, But again, it's just something else that was like, what in the world? What is that? Like, but later on, I now I know that it was like a guardian angel of some sort, and it was just with us, and then it just allowed us a glimpse to see it. But I'm telling you one thing, that at nighttime, we never went around the chapel again. We would go around the whole area, so that we wouldn't have to pass in front of the chapel. So that was like very scary for us, because when you're a child, what do you know? You don't know anything. So that was like my next little introduction to the angels situation, I guess. And then something else and I'm just gonna be telling you like a couple of different little things that happened to me, and because yeah, that's how they happen. And I have to say everything in stages, because as my years go. So the next crazy thing that happened to me is I was in high school. I was just doing my homework, and then we didn't have Google back then, and we didn't have like all the things that we have today. I mean, the kids today, they have it so good, like compared to what we had. Like, I mean, I wasn't in a horse and buggy or anything, not that old, but not far. Anyways, so I'm doing my homework, and I have this question, and I have to do it, and I can't go further. I have to answer this before I go any further inside the whatever I was doing, and I can't even remember actually what I was doing. So I know that it had been like an hour. I had been pacing in the kitchen living room, and I'm pacing back and forth, and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? I can't go on if I don't find what this is. And it was too late to phone anybody, because back then we would phone, our friends, and they're, with their parents. And like, I think it was like 10 o'clock at night. I didn't want to phone anybody. So I know that it had been like an hour, at least an hour. And I was freaking out, because my paper was due the next day, and and I had to find what this was. Anyways, I'm freaking out, and then I just shouted, "God, help me!" And I'm telling you, again, the second I said that, instant download. I mean, it couldn't have been faster. It was so incredibly fast that I just went like, oh my God, is that all I have to do? I just have to ask. And then it was like, oh, that's, something else to remember, because now that's another piece of information that I needed to learn. So the other thing that happened after that, all these books, because I wanted to know, like, now I'm curious, like I'm getting curious to see what's going on and what's happening. And, like, so the first book that I read was The Power of Your Subconscious. So that was the first book. Then I went to A Course in Miracles. Then I went to Edgar Cayce. I mean, you name it. Seth Speaks, which probably took me 3 months to read this book, honestly, because it's just like your head wants to explode. It's just so crazy. And if you see the girl that's channeling Seth Speaks, Jane Roberts, if I would have seen that before I read the book, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have read the book, because that was intense. That if you see footage of the Seth Speaks material, it's intense. So I was, starting to get like a more knowledge on what had happened to me, and the sporadic things that happened to me. And nothing had happened. Well, nothing had happened, really. Like, I mean, a lot had happened, but like a lot more did happen further on in my life, which, like, where your head is going to explode like mine did. So the next experience that I have, it was a Thanksgiving. I was living on my own at this time, and I was sitting down in the living room with my friends, and we're just having like a conversation. And I remember I was sitting in the corner of the room, and then they were like pretty much like sitting there with the couch, and then in front of me with chairs and stuff. And all of a sudden, and it was like a couple of seconds, okay? It wasn't like I just sat there and stared at this, but it was like, and my bedroom was there, so it was like the wall of my bedroom on the other side of the living room, right? So I'm sitting in the living room, and it was like space and time just like opened and then closed. And what I saw on the other side was the colors. Again, the colors were even more vibrant than when Mary, Jesus, and my mother appeared in my bedroom in the hologram. This was, and I was talking at the time when this happened, and I was just like, ugh, and I couldn't talk anymore, because I was just like, and they're thinking, is she having a stroke? What's going on? Why? What's happening to her? But I'm telling you, that shook me, because that was just like, what was that? And how is that possible? And what's going on with me that I'm seeing and experiencing these things? Because this is just not normal. It's just not normal, period, So again, I'm questioning myself, because at this point, I know I'm fully normal, like I'm not, so I don't know what's going on, that I'm experiencing these things. The other thing that happened, this was, yeah, like, I'm just gonna say it. So I had met this guy, and I literally thought this man was going to be like the father of my children. And I was envisioning the house, and like the children, and the whole picture, the whole perfect picture of what life should be. And we had been together for 3 months, and I mean, it was like goo goo gaga. I couldn't even like put two sentences together. I was so in love with this guy, like I couldn't even see straight. And I have a pretty sharp intuition, because my prior boyfriend at the time wasn't the most faithful, shall we say, to me. But every time that he did, I knew about it, and I dreamt about it. I would have this gut feeling that, yeah, something's not right. But I was at a point in my life where I can't say I really cared, you know. I was just like, whatever. I think that this is what I have to deal with. This is basically what I don't want to put men down, you know, but like I was basically thinking, well, you know, this is going to happen for the rest of my life, so I better get used to it now. But this guy wasn't like the guy that I was picturing to be my husband either, so maybe that had a lot to do with like I didn't really care as much. So, but this one was, and 3 months later, and every Christmas I would go down to our family cottage, and the whole family is there, and that's where everything, you know, everybody from everywhere get together, because at the time I was not living in my hometown and a lot of people weren't as well, so we would all get back to the cottage and reconnect on Christmas. And I said to my mother, I said, I'm not going to make it this year because I really want to stay with, you know, like this new man that I had met. And, you know, our first Christmas together, and it was very special and all that, you know. So, and I kind of live like 8 hours away from our cottage, so it's not next door. So I was getting Christmas ready. I was getting everything ready for the night. And I get a phone call like at 4 o'clock. And I pick up the phone and he's like, oh, hi, you know, he goes, listen, he goes, I haven't been totally honest with you. I have been seeing this woman for 8 years. And she told us today while we were at lunch with her parents that she's pregnant. So he goes, I meant to tell you about her and all that. And I just sat there going, what? You know, I couldn't even speak. I was just so, I mean, I can't even say. He caught me off guard. I had no inkling. I had no premonition of this. I did not see this coming at all like the other guy. I couldn't believe that I call them my spidey senses, never came online to give me any inkling that this was happening, you know? So I couldn't speak. And he was like, oh, please say something. I'm so sorry. And I was just like, you know, I couldn't speak anything. So I just stayed on the line, but he was talking, but I wasn't really, I completely zoned out, and I was just like devastated. And it felt like somebody had like just like stabbed me in the stomach. So the only thing that I came up with was congratulations, and I just hung up the phone, and I would just sat there, and I just like instantly like, you know, like start crying, and I was just like devastated. I couldn't believe that this was happening to me. And he was trying to phone me back, and he's like, please pick up the phone, please talk to me, and you know, like the whole thing. And I was just like, no, I'm not talking to him. And back then we had like answering machines, you know, like in the olden days. So he kept like leaving messages on my answering machines, but I wouldn't pick up. So I phoned my mother, and then I was telling them, you know, like what had happened and everything. And my aunt came on the phone, and she's like, don't worry, you know what I mean? You dodged a bullet, like this guy, like you could be the pregnant girl, and like you dodged a bullet, and you, in a way you're lucky, you know, and I'm so sorry that this is happening to you, but in a way you're lucky that it happened the way that it happened, you know. So getting off the phone with them, I was just like, you know, in pieces and like heartbroken. He had given me a CD of the Four Seasons, a classical CD, which I would listen to, you know, all the time, because like I said, I was just so in love with this guy. It's not exactly my genre of music at the time, you know. I was like younger, so, and I was, you know, like this was not my type of music, but I learned to love it because I loved him. So Anyways, I was crying the whole night, and then later on I had headphones on, and I had like my CD player that was like on repeat. So, and I was reading this book, and it's called Ask Your Angels. And it's funny because this angel is the same painter who is on the cover of this book, Ask Your Angels, which is just a coincidence, really. But so I was reading this book, and I'm listening to The Four Seasons, and I can hear children playing, laughing, whatever. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I'm like, it's so late at nighttime, like, oh, children outside, what's going on, you know? And I'm thinking, oh well, you know, like, it's Christmas Eve, so maybe they're outside. And then it was just like getting louder and louder, and I was like, what's going on? So I take my headphones off, and then I can't hear anything. I go to the window, nothing. I go to the door, nothing. I go back on the couch, I put my earphones back on, and then as I'm reading, I'm hearing like children laughing and playing, and I'm like, what is this, you know? So then I would test it. I would like get to a period, and it would stop, and then I would start reading, and it would start again, and then I would stop, and then I was just trying to test it to see like what in the world is happening right now. But that went on for whatever, how many chapters I got to read, and it was just amusing me, so I just kept on reading because I kept on, you know, like, I wasn't quite sure what was happening, but whatever, I was having fun with it. I fell asleep, and then I woke up in the next morning because my dog jumped on me, and the earphones were still on my ears, and my book was on the floor, and I could no longer hear what I heard what I heard the night before. Anyways, I took off my earphones, and you know, went with my dog outside and dressed them all up because, you know, I live in Canada, so we have to dress our dogs. I had a poodle and a King Charles Spaniel, and they were very spoiled. So I put their little skidoo suits on, and we went out. And I never thought about anything really. Like, I just like was on autopilot. I just woke up, and, you know, that's my first job in the morning, is to take my dogs out. So we go across the street, and then it just started like snowing, this most beautiful big snowflakes, and it's so peaceful, and there's nothing around. I can't hear anything, and this beautiful snow, and my dogs are going crazy because they're trying to like catch the snowflakes, and it was just like beautiful. And then all of a sudden it was almost like like where everything came back to me. I was like, oh my God, it's Christmas morning. And I was like, oh my God, that's right, that happened last night. And oh my God, thank God this guy is out of my life. And I'm telling you, I no longer felt ill. I no longer felt heartbroken. I no longer felt anything but pity for this guy. And for the girl especially, not for the guy really. But, you know, I was just like cured from a heartbreak. I mean, who gets over a heartbreak in like 12 hours or whatever, how many hours that had happened, you know? And it was just like, this is like crazy. And then I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my God, the children that I was hearing. And I'm reading the book, Ask Your Angels, and I'm like, the angels came to me and basically healed my heart from the worst heartbreak that I could have possibly had. Like, and you know, like some heartbreak, some people, it goes on for years, you know, like, and I mean, overnight, boom, I am cured from this. Anyways, that was my next story. And from that moment on, I started collecting angels, like you see here, but like beautiful you know, beautiful pieces of art that I just like was in like infatuated with. Like I would see an angel and it was like, oh my god, I have to have her. So it kind of became like a small obsession. And so this is my other you know, experiences that I've had, and this is just the beginning of all the things that I've went through. So I'm going to be stopping the video here because I think that you know, I think my stories are so long that I would need my own show. But I will let you here and have a wonderful day. And as I said in my last video, I love you. I don't know you, but this is how it is. We're one. And thank you for coming to see me again. And I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.